Hello and welcome. Today we're going to explore a really simple but I think profound idea. What if your life could feel as easy, as natural, as a single breath? I mean, think about it. Does life sometimes feel like you're constantly pushing a heavy boulder uphill? Just this relentless effort that leaves you feeling totally drained? If you've ever felt that way, you're for sure not alone. It's so easy to get caught up in this cycle, right? Always busy, always pushing for the next thing, and all the while, this little voice in the back of our heads is asking, am I good enough? It is just an exhausting way to live. But what if there's a different way? Seriously, what if, instead of fighting against the current all the time, we could just learn to flow with it? Let's talk about how we can find that sense of peace and purpose and make life feel a little more like breathing in and breathing out. So here's the path we're going to walk together in this explainer. First, we'll talk about finding your inner source. Then, we'll look at how to clear the channel that blocks your natural flow. After that, we'll see how to create some effortless momentum. And we'll finish up by figuring out how you can start your first gentle ripple of change. All right, so our journey really has to begin at the very core of who we are. See, before we can change what we do, we have to get really clear on who we are. This first step is all about embracing authenticity and finding your true purpose. This whole thing starts with what we can call inner consciousness. Think of it as your true nature, the real you that's separate from all the external pressures and expectations. It's about learning to prioritize being over constant doing. You know, living life your way, not the way you think you're supposed to. And this leads us to this really beautiful Japanese concept called Ikigai. It basically means your reason for being. And the key here is that it's not something you invent out of thin air. It's something you discover within yourself. It's like an inner compass that gently guides you toward who you want to be and what you want to do. So you might be wondering, okay, that sounds great, but how do I actually find it? Well, here's a super simple 3-step approach. First, just ask yourself one small question. What's one thing I can do this week to connect with my purpose? Second, try writing a personal mission statement that just captures your core values. And third, use that statement to set goals that actually line up with who you are. Okay, so once you start to get a sense of your inner source, the next big step is clearing away all the mental clutter that gets in the way. This part is all about being present and learning to, well, let go of control. Now, this is a really critical insight to grasp. Most of our suffering, our stress, our anxiety, it doesn't actually come from reality. It comes from our thinking about reality. It's the mind's endless chatter about what happened in the past and what might happen in the future that causes all the trouble. Let's look at the contrast here, because it's pretty stark. You've got the thinking mind, which is always focused on survival. That leads to anxiety, fear, and feeling overwhelmed. But then you have the present mind, which is just focused on awareness. And that shift, it leads to a state of flow, enjoyment, and the ability to do really deep, meaningful work. So how do we actually make that shift? Well, it starts with really simple, practical actions. Turn off your phone notifications. Eliminate those distractions. When you're doing something, try to immerse yourself completely in just that one task. You can even practice mindfulness in totally routine moments, like when you're washing your hands. And if you start to feel overwhelmed, just bring all your focus back to one tiny next step. Okay, let's talk about another huge mental blockage, perfectionism. We tend to think it's about having high standards, which sounds good, but more often than not, it's a self-destructive belief. It's this idea that if we can just be perfect, we can somehow avoid feeling judged or ashamed. And honestly, perfectionism is a trap. Its goal is some unattainable ideal, and it's all driven by a deep fear of shame. And what's the result? We get paralyzed, we don't do anything, and we blame ourselves. The alternative is learning to let go. The goal there is just acceptance and learning. It's driven by trusting that you are enough right now, and the outcome is the freedom to actually take action and adapt as you go. This is the mantra that can break you out of that paralysis. Just repeat it to yourself. Done is better than perfect. It's such a powerful reminder that progress comes from doing things, not from waiting around for the perfect moment or some flawless plan. Taking that first, messy, imperfect step is so much more powerful than staying stuck. So we've found our source, and we've started to clear the channel. Now, how do we direct that energy outward to create a real sense of effortless flow in our lives? This is where we talk about building habits and finding true fulfillment. You know, lasting change almost never happens in one big leap. It's built through what are called atomic habits, these tiny, consistent changes that just add up over time. The key idea here is that every small action you take is like casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're not just hitting a goal, you're literally building a new identity.
A fantastic way to start is with the gateway habit method. It's simple. You make the first step so small it's almost laughable. You want to start running? Your goal isn't to run a 5K. Your goal is just to tie your running shoes. Want to read more? Just read 1 page a day. The real goal is to master the act of showing up, because once you start, momentum takes over, and it's so much easier to keep going.
And that brings us to an even deeper level of fulfillment. This quote from the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl is just so powerful. It reveals a profound truth. Happiness isn't something you can chase down and capture. It shows up as a side effect, an unintended consequence of dedicating yourself to something bigger than you. And this really is the ultimate expression of that idea. When you can live in service, when you shift your focus from what can I get to what can I give, you'll find that it's one of the most reliable paths to inner peace and a deep sense of meaning. I just love this quote because it paints such a vivid picture of this mindset. Selfless contribution. It's about doing good just for the sake of doing good, without needing anything in return. This is really where that idea of effortless living finds its deepest, most beautiful meaning. We have covered a lot of ground on this path together, so now let's bring it all home and talk about how you can create your very first gentle ripple of change starting right now. When you boil it all down, it's this 3-step path. First, you find your source by embracing who you authentically are and discovering your purpose. Second, you clear the channel by practicing presence and letting go of that need to be perfect. And finally, you direct the flow by building small, consistent habits and living in service to others. And that brings us to a final question just for you. Look, this isn't about completely overhauling your life overnight. It's always about starting small. So my question is, what is one tiny, deliberate step you can take today to bring just a little more ease and flow into your life?
I would genuinely love to know what you come up with. Please share that one small step down in the comments. And if this explainer was helpful for you, please give it a like and subscribe for more on how to live with intention. Thank you so much for watching.